A very great evening to all those who are watching this podcast. Welcome to yet another show, yet another episode, rather, of Get Set Grow Season 2, where we are in conversation with Kalyan Raygalla. Sir, ऐसा टॉपिक जिसने ना हमारी जिंदगी पता नहीं क्या कर रखी है. We need answers to these questions. We need a proper solution to it, पर कोई इसके बारे में बात नहीं करता है. So today we have the perfect person to talk about it. आज का टॉपिक is acquiring the world and acquiring grit. In order to do that, we are going to talk to Ray sir, in relation to this topic. But uske pehle, before I hand over the stage to Ray sir, I will just introduce him quickly. After which, sir will introduce himself in his own unique way. Now, Ray sir says that he is a writer by heart, a facilitator by profession, and a foodie whose appetite is low. How is that possible?
Oh, I eat a lot of.
Foodie.
I wish to eat a lot of things, but then my appetite is low. So in short, I want variety, but then I eat very little.
Okay, great. So you want variation in life,
Yes,
but you
in
can't
very
consume a
limited
lot.
quantity. Oh no, I can't. My appetite is too low.
Exciting. Learning to facilitating Kalyan Raygalla is an enthusiastic multitasker and believes in continuous learning. He is an animal lover and fancies having a snake as a pet someday. He is a research scholar studying innovations in teaching and learning methods. He is also a gender enthusiast who researches about human psyche as far as gender and behavioral traits are concerned, which is so important in the times we are living in, guys. He is a 2 times TEDx speaker. That is my dream, to be a TEDx speaker. Published author, recreational therapist, and a strong advocate of human rights and mental health diplomacy. As far as MUNs are concerned, he has been a part of over 300 conferences. So, they are into MUNs and all. So, yeah, you know whom to contact for any sort of guidance. 100 conferences across India in various capacities, the majority as the chief of international press. Wow, intro of yours, sir. I really want to hand over the stage to you to, describe your journey in your way, describe yourself in your way.
You've given out most of the information, so I don't really know what do I talk about myself. Let's keep it this way. I mean, see, I always wanted to be in a space where I am in limelight. I enjoy such limelight, and a lot of people don't like such space. But then I always thoroughly enjoyed being there and doing that. So growing up, I've seen my teachers, get such limelight. While growing up, while you're in a school, what is that limelight spot if you are in a class? It's your teacher that everyone's eyes are on to, right?
Yes.
And I started believing that that is where I want to be, and I didn't know anything else to do other than getting into academics to start with. So I got into tuitions and all that. I used to teach at a tutorial back home, and invested a few years in doing that, and then I finished my bachelor's, and then I started working. In fact, while I was pursuing my bachelor's itself, I started working. Fortunately, I wouldn't want to name brands here since it's a podcast. Let's not give them any such light here today.
Yes.
So I worked with a couple of national newspapers when I was in my second year of undergrad, and I was studying journalism back then. And since I was studying journalism, I wanted to explore the field and understand the nuances of the field. So started my career as a journalist. I was a journalist for about 4 years. Worked with several national media organizations, and then I got into a news channel as well. I was a news reporter for about a year and a half, and then before quitting journalism, I was a special correspondent in a national news channel. And once I was done with all that, I then thought it's time for me to sort of get back and drive my passion for academics, and then I got into teaching. So started off with schools, and then I evolved, and then I got into colleges, universities, and I didn't realize I spent about 8 years in academics, and it was a
Yes.
beautiful journey. And after 8 years of academics, I felt drained, and I felt loss of creativity. I was never disconnected from the field, but then I felt really empty within me because of a lot of circumstances, that crept into my life while I was
Mm.
working as a teacher. A lot of um, a lot of people in India do not really appreciate young people as professors or as knowledge bearers who are disseminating information.
In
And
a
a lot of
different way.
absolutely, in a definite different way. And this also brings me down to one of my TED talks. The first TED talk was on incorporating mainstream cinema into classroom education as a tool to facilitate learning. So, back in the day when I was teaching value education for a group of young adults, I brought in a couple of films into my class and I made them watch, and then we, went around the textbook and read a few read a few chapters, and it magically worked on all my students. They didn't really have to go through any more content in the book, because whatever visually they were able to watch, they were able to relate with whatever was there in this value education book, you see. And the movies that we collectively watched in a classroom were Kung Fu Panda and then The Good Dinosaur. So
Wow.
these two movies, I mean, three parts of Kung Fu Panda and then The Good Dinosaur, one movie of The Good Dinosaur. So, this way, my methods have always helped me shine bright, maybe not like a diamond, but just like a human being. And I was able to bear that light and take that light to a lot of young individuals. A lot of people tell me that I've inspired them, I've motivated them. I don't know what part of my life phase has motivated them. It could be my aura, it could be the way I am, or it could be the way I talk to them, or it could be the way I look at things. I don't know what actually inspired or motivated a lot of people. But then that happened, and a lot of people started walking up to me and telling me how, just one conversation, brought in a major difference in their life. And that's when I strongly decided to, sort of stay in a zone where I can do this often, where I can actually talk to as many people as I can. And I don't believe that I influence people. I strongly believe that I direct people at times whenever they need a direction. When they come to me, I talk to them, they find solace in the conversation that I have with them. And I also strongly believe and advocate that conversations are a way of life. Anything and
Yes.
everything, you strike a conversation, you'll find a solution. It is as simple of an approach as that sounds. But a lot of people have a problem in even having conversations.
Huh.
And this is where I blame the internet era, or this is where I sort of blame technology as well to a very great extent. So
Okay.
that is that. And then, after these TED Talks, my passion for, my passion for being in a space where learning, knowledge sharing is, associated, to be there and to do that, my passion grew more stronger. But then, due to certain unforeseen circumstances and some ugly situations, I chose to consciously, quit a couple of places. Ideally, the idea was to switch from one university to another. But then, after quitting one university, while I was sitting back and sort of reflecting, I couldn't feel the connect anymore with academics, especially Indian academics. And I didn't really want to leave the country and go elsewhere and make a living. No, I don't want to do that. I mean, 80% of my friends are no longer in India. They're all elsewhere in different parts of the world. And if I also do that, there's no difference between all those who are going there and settling there and myself, who strongly believe in a lot of things that this country has to offer to young individuals like us. I don't know if I can call myself young. I'm 30
Yes,
past, but
yes.
I still call myself young because I'm
Of
young at
course,
heart,
you
is what I
must.
feel.
You must.
So that's another strong inclination towards sticking to the country, staying around, and not really leaving the nation as such. And then while I was just sitting back at home and trying to figure out what else can I do, I ideally thought I'll get into some corporate company and become a corporate trainer. But then, how different will I be, or the work I will do, compared to a million others who are in the same domain of corporate training? I will still follow the same modules, which are age old, which are done and dusted sorts. Even if I get into some sort of language enhancement training, I will still do the same thing what a million people are doing. So I didn't really know what next. And when I was going through all this, that's when the current company I'm working with fell in my lap. Their ideology is completely different. I was never exposed to something like that. I'm working with a team building company currently, and it's been what, 8 months. I guess this is for the first time in my life. The past 8 months have been wonderful in terms of my professional, structure or work life sort of a thing. They offer a perfect work life balance sort of a setup, and I haven't cribbed even once in these past 8 months when it comes to work life.
Great.
That definitely is an achievement when I look at myself, or rather my past self. That definitely is an achievement, because while I was in academia, I used to crave, I used to yell, I used to fight with a lot of people because that space is as such. And definitely when you're in a space where you get a lot of limelight, where you become popular among your students and all, a lot of jealousy also come into picture. A lot of other people who are your colleagues or who are in the same space of teaching or academics, who cannot really get that sort of a limelight or attention of students, a lot of weird things, tend to fall in place. When I say weird things, a lot
Yes.
of jealousy and, things which I do not really want in my life. So that was the primary reason why I left academics. And definitely most Indian universities and the managements have become money minting mechanisms in terms of how they can just make money, and don't really pay attention to quality or life of young individuals that are there.
Which
So
is
when I
sad.
was reflecting on all these things, I felt very disconnected, and I cannot be in a space where all these evil elements are dancing like anything. So I consciously cut ties with academia, and then the current company happened, and then the team building came into my life, and I truly know what a team is now. Though I worked with though I worked with hundreds of teams in the past, if you look at my 10 12 years of career, I worked with number of teams elsewhere globally, not globally, virtually, yes. Otherwise, all across India, I worked with so many teams. I've met so many individuals. I've interacted with so many people, but I always felt I never belonged in any team that I worked with, because people work in teams, but they don't really know what team building is all about. They don't really know how to work together as a team. And now, in these past 8 months, I've learned so much, I've evolved so much, that I know how to work in a team. I know how to handle people who are tough at times with you. I don't like escaping situations. I can face any sort of a situation now with ultimate confidence and a smile on my face, and I know what to do, how to handle it. That sort of a joy and confidence happened only in these 8 months in
That
terms
is a
of
big
handling a team,
achievement.
sticking in a team, and I belong here. I get that sense of belongingness with this current team that I'm working with. And I guess nothing more an individual wants in their work life other than belongingness with the company and the team that they are working with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
And
so
when
feel you
that
when you
sort of
say
a
that.
Yes, when that sort of a feeling lingers around in your mind, body, and soul, it reflects in your aura. It reflects in your commitment towards your work. And when it is reflected in your aura, you're already committed to your work, then your output speaks volumes of how involved you are and how invested you are. You will not have to talk about, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Your work will speak for itself. And that's what is happening with me.
Great. Awesome. Awesome. It was so good to hear that.
There is a
आज तुम लोग के साथ ही I got to know a lot about him, and I also got to know that sir is so very, he fits in this topic that we have taken for today's podcast. Okay, dealing with the competitive world and acquiring grit, because that is what sir was talking about, and that was so good. So, sir, I really want to ask you a lot of questions related to your journey and all. But there are two things. One is that we have the time constraints, and second,
Correct.
that we have a lot of questions already, which are general amongst the youngsters. So, we have a list of questions which are general amongst the youngsters, which they usually ask with respect to today's topic. Now I will ask you those questions one by one, and guys, Ray sir will be answering those questions for you all. Okay? Stick towards the end because last maybe we are going to have some fun. वैसे अभी भी we'll have some
Oh.
fun. Okay? So now the first question is competitiveness can often have negative effects on youngsters. How to deal with that?
See, this is not my philosophy, but then this is the philosophy that a lot of people believed in, and it worked miraculously for hundreds of people. And someone, while I was in academics, I used to look up to is J. Krishnamurti, is a philosopher, thinker, and the one who started Rishi Valley Schools, is the founding director of Rishi Valley Schools. So, I mean, he always believed that competition will do no good to anyone. Replace competition with cooperation. And there lies the solution. Competition never is healthy. Competition will always drive in pressure. Competition will always pull down people. Competition will also bring in a lot of unwanted elements and factors into picture. So, why are we competing? Primary question is, why do we compete? What is our end goal? Our end goal is to better ourselves, right? Not to prove to the world or to anyone that you're better than the other. The whole point of competition is always understood in a very negative context. And I believe there is nothing positive about competition. I don't really believe that there is anything positive about it. I'd rather believe that, cooperation is a way forward. See, if five individuals are competing with each other, they may achieve their individual goals. I mean, one of them might shine bright, and the rest of the four of them might, stay in shade. But then, if they are cooperating, all the five of them will be highlighted, and they'll be able to share their learnings with each other. And there is definitely a strength, a sense of togetherness that would also come into picture if you are cooperating with the other. So I'm a strong advocate of cooperation than competition. And I don't believe in competition. I never competed with people, nor do I want to fall into that race mechanism where I am trying to prove to the world that I am good at it and I am the best. No. Because competition is a mechanism that is often understood as a way forward for an individual to prove their worth to humanity or to the world. The day I know that I don't have to prove my worth to my own self, I won the whole world. Because if I'm not competing with my own self, I don't have to fear anything in the world. So I'm competing with myself. No, that is all bullshit. You're not competing with yourself. You're only pressurizing your mind. You're conditioning yourself in ways that will not give you good results. Why do you see a lot of people breaking down in terms of their mental health, in terms of their emotional intelligence and things like these? Even if you see to a very great extent, a lot of philosophers have already said this, that human intelligence is turning against them. If you put yourself in that sort of a shoe where you feel the pressure, and since you're feeling the pressure, you're working towards your goal, that is a very wrong analogy and a very pathetic way of looking at it, because you're killing, which is very dear to you, that is being human. You're killing that humanness within you, and that's why you are able to focus more on the competitiveness than cooperation. So rather, if you are able to invest your time in cooperating with the other, cooperating with one another, wherein there are five different individuals and five of them are investing their time and energy collectively in helping each other, learning from each other, and collectively growing. This ideology has been there openly for donkey's years, but unfortunately, not many people are aware of this. And those who know this ideology are not able to practice it, because we are all living in a competitive, unfortunate world.
Yes.
I guess I've answered your question. I don't know if I did, but yeah. I talked about the way I look at competition. And then I definitely want to let go of the word competition from all sorts of dictionaries and minds of people. I keep watching a lot of Rick and Morty, and I wish I had that gun with which I can erase whole universe's memory with just one click, and I would want to erase the word competition and a lot of other words as well, though.
I get that. I get that. So when we say healthy competition, Schools and institutions and even our families have always nurtured us with this particular concept of healthy competition. There's nothing healthy about competition. You busted this myth of healthy competition, which we have been
Absolutely, it is a
carrying in
myth.
our minds.
Yes, absolutely. See, there can be healthy eating habits and unhealthy eating habits, but there can't be healthy competition and unhealthy competition. It's like, adding healthy and then trying to make it look like, it is good and it is appealing. No, it is not. There can't be healthy toxicity and unhealthy toxicity, right? It's toxicity. Similarly,
Yes.
it is competition and it is bad.
Hmm. That was so very much it, and all of us have got a very important lesson from your answer. Replace competition with cooperation. Lovely. That is exactly what we need to do. Otherwise, you end up pressurizing yourself. And again, the myth of competing with yourself. कि बेटा किसी और से क्यों compete करना है? Compete with yourself. Times are not the same
No,
always.
for God's sake, please do not compete with yourself also. That's a very wrong analogy and a
Hmm.
very wrong way of looking at life. And no wonder why we are not able to grow strongly as a nation, because most of young India is indulging in this competitive sort of an approach in living their life. They are losing a lot of things because of this pressure that is pushing them towards, I don't know what their end goal is. Why do you want to become better than the other? Why is this thought of I should be better than you coming into your mind, which is driving competition? It is a very wrong structure altogether.
It is a very wrong structure. What the opposite argument says is that there is a scarcity of opportunities. And that is why, to get that one opportunity, there is a lot of competition. For example, a very, very plain example, sir. College है, ठीक है, DU में CUET हुआ, limited seats. So, okay, Three Idiots का example. Three Idiots का ही dialogue use करते हैं हम, where Virus says कि ये सीट तुम्हें मिली है, तुम किसी को हरा कर आए हो, 100 लोगों को हरा कर तुम्हें ये सीट मिली है. So, would you say that lack of opportunity is the reason for competition in in this country?
I would say, I wouldn't say lack of opportunity, I would say overpopulation. That's the answer, I believe. I mean, who are we blaming? Why are we saying that we have lack of opportunities? Government, at least for the past decade, maybe more than a decade, they've been trying to penetrate this piece of knowledge of population control, menstrual hygiene, and safe sex, things like these. They've been propagating all this. In fact, selling of condoms and all also taken its burning course 10 years back. And yet we see population growth happen, and yet there are a lot of myths associated with preventive measures of sex and whatever. And then end of the day you have increased population, and then you blame this whole society and the government, wherein you tell them and blame them that lack of opportunities. No, you're only fooling yourself, damn it. You control population, you'll have opportunities. And the other way of looking at the same situation is, I don't believe in lack of opportunity approach. Either you are there to do it or you're not there. You are giving your true self to it to be there. If you are giving your true self to it, you will definitely be there. And see, I also, for some reason, maybe it is, said many a times around me, I strongly believe in it, or maybe it actually made sense to me and I believe in it. I don't really know why I believe in something. And the reason why I'm saying this and what I believe in is, कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती. This phrase, I've heard it a million times while growing up, and to a very great extent, I believe strongly in it. And if you're truly investing yourself, and if you're committing to what you want in your life, you will get it. It is as simple as that. Universe works in miraculous ways. And since I already talked about Kung Fu Panda and Good Dinosaur, if you see Kung Fu Panda, even there, universe helped Panda reach wherever Panda had to be. And Panda couldn't achieve it as he. He had to work his ass off to get there. He was
True.
disappointed. He was not committed. He was not ready for it. But then over a period of time, Master Shifu trained him in a certain way to be there and to do that. Again, it boils down to school and learning mechanisms where we are wrong in our home, we are wrong at our schools. Learning cannot happen from morning 9 to evening 5.
Exactly.
Learning happens every second. Learning happens. The important factor is to inculcate the idea of looking at what is and what not and learn from it. For decades, we are failing to inculcate this sort of a mindset in people. Hence, we blame, we crib, we say we have lack of opportunities.
So this very, very fundamental question is answered today, guys. Just note it and consume it very consciously. Very consciously. Okay. Thank you so much for answering that so wonderfully, sir. And I'm sure आपने जिस तरीके से आंसर किया ना, all of us were hooked to your answer. किसी ने और कुछ सोचा ही नहीं
See,
होगा.
I speak my emotions, I speak my heart out. So I believe that glues a lot of people to the screen and watch me or hear me.
Exactly. And guys, that is what endears racers students to him. है ना?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It does. So, sir, now moving on to the next question. You cited cooperation to be replaced with competition, right? हेल्थी कंपटीशन का तो आपने पूरा वाइप ऑफ ही कर दिया है आज. अब मैं भी कभी ये टर्म यूज नहीं करूंगी. लवली. थैंक यू फॉर दिस
क्योंकि ऐसा कुछ है ही
एनलाइटनमेंट,
नहीं
सर.
ना.
हाँ, सही बात है. ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं. So, what can be the approach of teachers and parents to indulge their child in cooperation instead of making them feel pressurized?
Okay. First thing, as parents, what they'll have to do is stop binding your younglings to certain things. Stop teaching them false knowledge. Stop giving them false guidance. I see. I've read it somewhere, and then it had definitely worked for a lot of people as well in the past, even today. When a child is born, what most young adults or people tend to do is teach the child a lot of things. Do you think if you don't teach, the child will not learn? Child will eventually learn.
Yes.
Most people think that child will learn by seeing and by seeing and listening. No, children do not learn by seeing and listening. Children learn by observing. There is a difference in watching, seeing, listening, and observing. When you observe, you understand the crux of what's happening there and why it's happening. A lot of why and 5 W's and 1 H is a one-stop solution on how to raise children. Why, what, where, who, when, and how. If you are able to ask these 5 W's and 1 H at every given point of time in your life, I guess we will be better individuals. And definitely there is the root cause is from, the root cause is how we all are evolving and how our thought processes are evolving. Unfortunately, we are all polluted. Our ideologies are polluted. Our way of thinking is polluted. The reason why I'm saying polluted is because this is not how we live our lives. This is not how our, ancestors lived. If you look at how humanity has evolved and how, the culture in India has paved a way for wonderful things to happen in the past, is because of the value system that we all, that the society was built upon. Where has that value system gone? Earlier, if you look at the times, I'm a strong believer of spirituality and a lot of other religious texts as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at if you look at these yugas, if you see Hinduism, it's explained that there are 4 yugas. And if you see in all the yugas except for Kali Yuga, life was different. Values were there. People were able to differentiate between good, bad, ugly. The time in which you're not able to differentiate between good, bad, ugly, and not being able to make a conscious call or a judgment about what needs to be done and what should not be done, what should be consumed and what should not be consumed, how do you look at something and how you should not look at a situation. These are 6 ideal principles that will guide humanity on a better path, that will help individuals evolve. Bottom line is simply sit back, observe, ask your own consciousness what should be done and what should not be done. Your consciousness will never lie to you. Consciously, no one will go commit rape. Consciously, no one will go commit crime. Consciously, no one will go do ugly things to others. Consciously, no one will harm others. If you're able to sit back and talk to yourself, internalize whatever you've observed so far, and just try to have a conversation with your own self, that inner voice will come and it will guide you. So pay attention to these things and try to sit back and reflect. This process of reflection is definitely a way forward for every individual. And when you sit back and reflect, there will come a point where you will enter this meditative zone where you are able to see through things in plain sight in the way they are with no strings attached. You don't have to practice meditation. You just sit back, spend time with yourself, and try to invest at least 10 to 15 minutes in reflecting what you're doing, why you're doing, how you're doing. Answer these 5 W's and 1 H on a larger domain, which is life. You will have your answers. You will become more grounded. You will become more conscious about the life choices that you're making. You will become more conscious with your word choice as well. We often use a lot of words which have a lot of negative connotation, which have a lot of bad, aura for others. But when you sit back and start practicing reflections as a way of life, I strongly feel that's when you will start not conditioning yourself, but putting yourself in a zone where you know what to do and what not to do, how to do and how not to do. In general, it will help you look at life in a certain way. And that certain way is what is missing at school, is missing at home, is missing in our own individual lives as well.
Oh my God. That was, you elaborated on it, and the direction which it took was an absolute direction. And I can say that because I myself am a believer of spirituality. So when you gave that meditation wala aspect, the reflection wala aspect, it struck me ki yes, this is something which is so very much missing. I mean, we're never taught this.
Absolutely.
People,
The
tell
fault
me.
and the problem is with learning mechanisms and the structures that have ruined humanity for donkey's years.
Yes.
Why do you think all this ruining happened? Because British took over India, and they've in those 100 years they've ruined us totally. Because we were better off than any other society in the world when British came here. Why couldn't British take over Dubai or any other Arab country? There was nothing. There was poverty at a point of time. They couldn't rule them. What will they rule? क्या मतलब डेजर्ट में किसका रूल करेंगे हम? There is nothing left. There was never nothing. And later, once British left, and then people started evolving, and then petrol happened, or rather, liquid fuel happened, and that's when they all became other, superpowers, or other, countries with a lot of economy and all that. Otherwise, India was one of the supreme nations back then as well. And it was the British ideology, see, mindsets. They've done that. They've ruined us for those 100 years, and then they left. And now we are suffering. It is a definite downburn of whatever these British individuals have done back then. They've ruined us culturally. They've ruined us morally. They've ruined us economically as well. They've ruined us from all dimensions. And it
it
took what,
started with,
75?
yeah. Yes, sir. And
And it
it
took us
started with
75 years
cultural.
to sort of cope up with it. And now I strongly see, the sort of leadership that the country always hoped for and wanted. The country at last got that sort of a leadership.
The vision is what
Absolutely.
matters.
And this, since you brought up the word vision, it also
Yes.
takes me back to APJ Abdul Kalam.
Ah,
He was such a visionary. His ideologies, his way of life, his commitment towards everything. See, again, I'm repeating the same words that I've been using all through the conversation. And the reason why I'm using those words are because those words, what they mean, what they stand for, if you internalize them, they work miraculously for hundreds of people in the country or globally. They will definitely work for us as well. It is a tried and tested method of living life. So just believe in it, internalize it, and go forward.
that is great. Superb. तो आपके इस वाले आंसर से इफ आई वाज टू टेक वन की टेक अवे, इतने सारे की टेक अवे से मैं एक की टेक अवे क्या लूं? ओह गॉड,
Everything is a takeaway. If you wish to take everything
everything is
away,
a takeaway.
then it's a wonderful
Guys,
thing.
guys, basically everything which sir said, they are all precious, precious gems. Just understand these and see if you can
Oh, they are
apply
just my
them.
thoughts and emotions.
Yeah. See if you can apply them in your own context. And at least sir has given you a lot of, not a food for thought, but a feast for thought. So, yeah, now you have to ponder on it. And that is what Young Mind Thinks always does. We give you a feast for thoughts, where then you have to think and then see if you can apply it in your context with your own spice getting added to it. Sir, thank you so much for that answer. There was so much to learn from you. बहुत मजा आया आपसे बात करने में, and the way you opened up with us, wow. मतलब मजा आ गया. आपने आग लगा दी लास्ट में जो बोला उससे. I swear, I swear.
सच में दम होता है भाई. सच आग भी लगाता है, आग बुझाता भी है सच.
आह आह कोई नहीं, हम शायरी बाद में करेंगे. ठीक है. Now, so moving on to another question. What should be the approach of a student who wants to be called first in everything? But basically, you spoke about competition cooperation. So, what would you say of this mentality of coming first, of being the best in your field?
Okay, since you mentioned about Three Idiots, let's take the conversation back to Three Idiots. It's a wonderful example. That's why I want us to sort of ponder upon it for a minute or so. I guess वायरस को आमिर खान एक सवाल पूछता है, मैं फर्स्ट आया तो मैं आपके बगल में बैठा, मेरा दोस्त लास्ट आया तो वो पीछे बैठे. Why? You know, again, the same analogy applied to divide and rule in British era. When we had Gurukulas, I don't think, as far as my knowledge goes, there was never this bifurcation system where you are rank 1, you are rank 2, rank 3, rank 4. The ranking system came in with British rule. We should get done with it. And I believe to a very extent, Indian education board also has tried doing that. And now there are grade points and no rank or no marks, so nothing is being revealed. So there is the idea of first, second, third is giving you a certain hierarchy in terms of mental thinking that I am over you.
Superiority.
Absolutely. चीजें गड़ी हुई है तो वो हमें हमारे बिहेवियर में भी तो आएंगे वो चीजें. So I don't believe in first, second, third or whatever. There is nothing as first, second, third. If you think you are first in your class, there are 100 other schools and there are 100 other kids who are first in their class. So where do you stand in those 100 people? You never know. If you stand first in this country, there are 100 other countries where people have stood first in their country's entrance exams or competitive exams or whatever. So where do you stand in these 100 people? On an average, if you look at from a broader point of view, you never know. So standing first or I am a first rank holder is a hoax. Get rid of that ideology completely. You've done well. You've scored certain marks. I don't really care how much you've scored, what got you that first rank position. As long as you're able to nurture your knowledge, as long as you're able to nurture yourself as a composed, complete human individual, I am okay with it, even if you are someone who is a failed candidate in their exams. On the contrary, if you're able to nurture yourself, you're able to learn, acquire knowledge and apply it in your daily routine, and nothing like it. So yeah, first rank, second rank, third rank is a crap system again.
It is.
It again takes us back to that British rule where the class and divide and rule sort of system came into picture.
Our authentic education system never had it. हमारा तो बहुत personalize करते थे.
Even Karl Marx, if you associate the same ideology that I just delivered right now, even if you look at Karl Marx and what he wrote in Das Kapital, which talks about a lot of things, he talked about a classless society or a classless economy where there is no bifurcation in terms of class. So even that boils down to the same analogy that I'm trying to feed all of you with. It's not like I'm sharing my experience, but my experiences are often backed with some sort of research content or some sort of things that have worked miraculously for billions or millions of people, if not billions and millions, at least hundreds of people. And these hundreds of people are cherished individuals in different walks of life. So if it has worked for them, if they are being cherished, which means they've done something worthwhile in their life. So let's value that and respect that and learn from it and apply that in our daily routine.
Right. That's very true. No, I absolutely agree with that, sir. I absolutely agree with that. But that sometimes I feel that talking about all of these things, unless and until the social relations are changed and the social construct is changed, it is very difficult to practically apply these things.
Social construct. I love the phrase social construct. A lot of social constructs are to be broken.
They have to be something we are discussing in college every single day.
I strongly feel that, all the colleges should vanish from the face of earth and every child should get an opportunity to get homeschooled.
Wow! Once more. Had I got the
Absolutely.
opportunity to get
Either
homeschooled,
homeschooled, or
I'd
if
go
at
for
all we
that.
are evolving in a rapid growing pace, maybe after 100 years or so, I'd want even homeschools to go extinct and then let the child live on their own, learn on their own.
Great.
They'll not end up being nomads. They'll end up being more knowledgeable than all of us are.
Yes, that is right. I second that. I absolutely second that because I myself know people who are homeschooled and they are doing tremendously well. Tremendously well. Pick up a last question for you to answer in one line, and then we'll move to the fun part. Does that work?
Okay, go on. Yes.
Great.
I'll try to limit it to one line. Let's see.
Yes.
Or maybe a couple of words then, if not one line.
So the last question is, in this digital age, how can we ensure that social media creates a space for cooperation and not competition on students? Yeah.
Sit back, reflect, internalize.
Lovely. That is the golden circle. Sit
Absolutely,
back,
it is.
reflect,
See,
internalize.
every question you're asking, everything that's happening around in the world as well, everything has a root cause, and the root cause is the same root cause, and that root cause is branching out into 1,000 different things. It is very simple.
Lovely. That's right. That's right. That's a root cause, and the root causes behind everything that is happening.
Absolutely.
That is a very, very spiritual approach. Oh my God. Moving to
The
the
clock is
fun part.
ticking.
The clock
Yes,
is
yes,
ticking
yes.
right on our heads, guys. So we'll move to the fun part. What this game is that I'll just say one word, and the word which comes to your mind in relation to this particular word, in association to this particular word, you have to say that. Bina kuch
See, I
soche.
don't have filters, so I'm very open with anything and everything. So you ask, I'll say.
Lovely. Competition.
Cooperation.
Cooperation.
Life.
This world.
What?
This world.
Oh, this world.
Yeah.
My mother.
Your mother.
Yeah, my mother. Okay, my mother, my father.
Great. Art.
Art is poetry.
Poetry.
Nature.
Nature.
Life.
Life.
Energy.
Yes. Energy.
Universe.
Universe.
Kung Fu Panda.
But it ends there. Ray. Your name, Ray, sir.
Oh, hope.
Hope. Hope.
Oh, another word, hope. Ah, that sound. What's the response?
Ah, that sound was the response. Lovely.
Yeah.
Your life.
Fascinating.
Your journey.
Wonderful.
Wonder.
Raygalla.
Raygalla, that was it. And that was so good, sir. It was such a bliss talking to you. I can't tell you guys, हमने इतनी बात कभी नहीं की थी जितना we spoke in this particular session about so many things. I got so many topics to talk about with Ray sir, and I got so many ideas for our upcoming webinars at Young Mind Things. जिसके लिए Ray sir is going to be the mentor, because sir is a mentor to many students. He has many mentees. So yeah, I'm sure that you'll love it when Sir comes to Young Mind Things, and we'll be having some awesome webinars and awesome workshops with him. Sir, I'm not taking no for an answer here. You'll have to come.
I'm all in.
Simple as
I'm all
that.
game for it. As long as
I
it's
hope you liked this session.
definitely, absolutely. It was pleasure talking to you, and I'm happy to see you evolve and grow as an individual into becoming a better version of yourself as you go forward. I wish you best, and all those who are watching us today, ensure that you continue to watch us, because you never know where we will cross paths, and you might get to interact with me, or I may get to interact with you, and we might collectively try and learn and make sense of a lot of things. So with that, I guess we can sign off.
Definitely. And that was a lovely message to the youngsters. And thank you so much for today's session, sir. Bye. Great evening to each
Bye.
one of
Thank you
you.
so much for having me here. Take care. Goodbye. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Bye. Take care.